I get it, you're scrolling through endless camera options, worrying you'll end up spending a lot of money on something that just won't cut it for your live streams, worship services, or conference recordings. You want a device that actually tracks people without you having to constantly readjust, that can stay on a table all day without dying, and that won't make you spend a week learning a maze of menus. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's break down whether the OBSBOT Tail 2 lives up to those expectations, and who should or shouldn't bother with it. First off, the Tail 2 isn't a regular webcam. It's built around OBSBOT's PTZR, pan-tilt zoom rotate, design, which lets the whole lens rotate a full 90 degrees. In practice, that means you can place the camera on a tripod, a shelf, or even a rolling cart, and the sensor will swivel to keep the subject centered without you having to twist the device. For a speaker who moves around a stage or a teacher who walks between whiteboards, that hands-free rotation eliminates the awkward camera-shy moments you see in a lot of low-budget streams. The AI Tracking 2.0 is the next big claim. It uses a 1/1.5-inch CMOS sensor and a suite of algorithms to lock onto a single person, a group, or even expand its tracking box as more people join the frame. I tried it in a small church where the pastor would step up to the pulpit, then walk down the aisle to greet the congregation. The camera followed smoothly, never jittering, and automatically adjusted the zoom to keep the pastor's face at a comfortable size. That kind of reliability matters if you're producing a live worship service where you can't afford a pause to reframe the shot. Low-light performance is always a sticking point for AI-driven cameras, because the sensor has to see enough contrast to keep tracking. The 1/1.5 CH sensor is larger than what you find in most USB webcams, so it does a decent job in dimly lit rooms. When I dimmed the lights to a typical conference room level around 150 lux, the camera still held onto the presenter, though the image did lose a little crispness at the edges. If you're planning to film in near-dark environments like a theater balcony, you'll probably want a dedicated lighting kit. For most indoor events, though, the Tail 2's low-light behavior is more than adequate. Stabilization is another practical concern. The Tail 2 has a 3-axis gimbal built in, which smooths out any minor shakes caused by the motorized pan-tilt system. In a test where I nudged the tripod lightly, the footage stayed rock-steady, and the AI didn't get confused by the motion. This is handy for outdoor gatherings where wind can make a cheap stand wobble, or for a creator who moves the camera between shots on a small studio floor. The only downside is that the gimbal adds a bit of weight, so you'll notice the battery pack feels slightly bulkier than a standard webcam's. Speaking of the battery, the Tail 2 packs a 5000 mAh unit that can run close to 8 hours at 1080p 120 fps, or about 5 hours when you push it to 4K 60 fps. That endurance is a real confidence booster for all-day events. You can start at 9 a.m. and still have power for the closing remarks at 5 p.m. without swapping out a cord. The battery is hot swap capable, meaning you can replace it on the fly if you have a spare, but you'll need to keep an extra pack on hand for very long sessions. For a hobbyist who just streams once a week, the battery life is more than enough, but a professional production team might still want a wall power adapter as a safety net. Menu navigation on the Tail 2 is surprisingly straightforward. The device pairs with OBSBOT's mobile app, where you can toggle AI tracking modes, set zoom preferences, and assign gestures. The gestures like raising a hand to start recording or pointing to zoom in are intuitive once you get the hang of them, and they work without you ever touching the camera again. The app does have a few extra settings that can feel a bit hidden, like tweaking the tracking sensitivity, but those are optional tweaks rather than mandatory steps. In short, you won't spend half an hour digging through layers of menus before you can start recording. Now, who actually benefits from this setup? If you're a church media director, a corporate trainer, or a small-scale event host who needs a single camera to capture moving speakers without a crew, the Tail 2 hits the sweet spot. Its combination of AI tracking, 5 optical zoom, with an additional hybrid zoom up to 12 when you need to get tighter without moving the rig, and gesture control means you can run a professional-looking stream with minimal hands in operation. Hobbyists who live stream games or tutorials will also find the auto track useful, but they might not need the full 90-degree rotation, or the larger sensor. Cheaper alternatives could suffice for a static desk setup. On the flip side, if you're a filmmaker who relies on interchangeable lenses, or a content creator who